Okay, this is chapter 3, lesson 2, adding and subtracting linear expressions. So I need you to open up your book if you're not already. I'll open to page 88. So open up your book to page 88. Um, in order for you to do this, you first need to know the vocabulary. And if you don't know the vocabulary, it's going to make it tough. So you need to know that a linear expression is an algebraic expression in which the exponent of the variable is 1. Now that's kind of wordy, but essentially what that means is that if you look here in this table, we have all of these are linear expressions, okay? And then if you look at the bottom table, all of these are non-linear or not. Okay, they are not linear expressions. So a linear expression is an expression, and in our case, we're going to really pretty much be doing binomials, but which means you have two factors or two add-ins. Okay, in this situation, you have a linear expression would be when a coefficient is multiplied with a variable and the variable has no exponent. Okay? If, like all three of these, this is just an x, just an x, just an x, and it could be just an a b, a c, a d, an e, an f, an alpha, beta, or a gamma. It doesn't really matter as long as your variable is only to the power of 1 or to no power. Because when it's the power of 1, we essentially leave it as no power. If you have a variable in an expression that has an exponent, like this one, x squared, or this one, x cubed, or this one, x to the fifth, those are non-linear. That means it will not be a straight line. When you would graph it later on in algebra, you're going to find out that that's not a straight line. So we're looking at ones that are linear, which means they only have a single variable. Okay, well, I shouldn't say that, a variable with no exponent. They can have multiple variables in it, but it means it doesn't have any exponent. And then you're going to add or subtract these linear expressions. Now, in order to do that, you have to combine your like terms. And there's two ways you can do it. You can do it vertical or you can do it horizontal. I personally like the vertical method, but the vertical method can be challenging at times. So with the vertical method, what you're going to do is you're going to take your binomial, is really what it is. You're going to take x, and I would change that to plus a negative 2. And then you're going to add that, in this case, to the second binomial, and you're going to line up your x's above each other and below each other, plus, and then 8. Okay? Now you're adding these together. So you just add like you would normally add when you would have addition problems. So, but you're going to add your like terms. So a negative 2 plus 8, those are both like. They're both numbers. They're both constants. So 8 plus a negative 2 is 6. Plus, then you have an x and a 3x. Now remember, there's an invisible 1 in front of that x. So 3 plus 1 is 4x. So our answer is 4x plus 6. That's the vertical method. The horizontal method is doing the exact same thing except that you commute the order. So if you have x plus, and I'm going to turn it to negative 2, okay, plus, and then 3x plus 8. Okay, what you're going to do when you do problems like this is you're going to make sure that all, and because we're adding, I took out my parentheses because the commutative property and the associative property of addition say that really the order in which you add does not matter, and where you put those grouping symbols does not matter. So, but you have to commute your order. So you have x plus, and then you got to move that 3x over here, plus, and then the negative 2 and the 8 go next to each other. Okay, then you can take that 3x plus x, and I don't put it in parentheses. Your book does, but you don't have to put it in parentheses. X plus 3x is 4x, plus, and then a negative 2 plus 8 is 6. You get the same answer, exactly the same, in two different methods. Horizontal, where you just take out the parentheses and commute your order, putting all your variables next to each other and all your numbers next to each other, then combine your like terms. Or the vertical, where you just line them up and add. The benefit of the vertical is that you're essentially saving a step. You don't have to do that step because there's no need to commute your order because you commuted it when you put it in a vertical method where you put your x's above and below each other, and or your variables above and below each other and your numbers above and below each other. Okay? Okay, so that's really how you add linear expressions. So what I would like you to do is I would like you to pause your computer, and I would like you to do number 1 and number 3 for me, both of them. Do number 1 and number 3, and when you're done, play your computer and see if you did it right. And make sure that you are writing these in your notebook. Okay? I'm going to start checking notebooks. So go ahead and pause your computer. Okay, number 1. Number 1 is x plus 2 plus 2x minus 1. So I'm going to do the vertical method. X plus 3 is on top, and then I have 2x minus 1. So that's 2x, and I'm going to turn that minus into plus a negative 1. Okay, do the inverse, the additive inverse. Okay, now I add my constants, my numbers. So 3 plus a negative 1 is 2 because the signs are different, so we subtract, plus, and then 2x plus, again, this is, remember, there's an invisible 1 there. 2 plus 1 is 3x. So our answer is 3x plus 2. Okay, if you got that right, wonderful. Number 3. Number 3 had an extra step in there that you couldn't ignore. You needed to distribute that 2. You can't do anything until you distribute that 2. So you had to do, and so what I'm going to do is do this one horizontally. Okay, so it's 4 plus a negative n, because I turned it into plus a negative, plus, then you have to show you distributive step. So 2 times this, you take the 2 times negative 5n, and then the 2 times 3. Okay, so 2 times a negative 5 is a negative 10, n, don't forget your n, plus, and then 2 times 3 is 6. Okay, so that's my distributive step. Now I have to commute my order. So it's 4 plus, and then I'm going to move my 6 up here, plus negative n plus negative 10n. Okay, 6 and 4 is 10 plus, and then a negative n would be a negative 1n plus a negative 10. So a negative 1 plus negative 10 is a negative 11n. And that would be your answer. Now, even if you were going to do the vertical method, which is fine, you have to show this step. You are not allowed to skip that step because you need to show that you understand how to distribute. Okay? And if you're going to complain about showing that, I could make you show the distributed part where I could have you do 2 times a negative 5n plus 2 times 3 and make you do that step. And I'm letting you skip that step right now. Okay? But I could make you do it. And if you wanted to do that step, you could do that step if you want, if it helps you. That would be fine with me. But you are required to show that step. And even if you're going to do it vertically and rewrite it as 4 plus a negative n, and then 6 plus a negative 10n, that's fine. You can do that, but you still have to show this step first. Have that written down and then this. Okay? So essentially when you're distributing, it really doesn't make a difference. You're almost, just as easy to do it as a horizontal method. Okay? Now this is where it gets a little bit difficult, is subtracting linear expressions. And if you got, by the way, if you got those two right, you can move on. If not, you should rewatch so you know where you made your mistakes. When you subtract a linear expression, this is where it gets to be a little bit more challenging, okay? So if I have, for letter A, we're going to do this letter A one. If I have 5x plus 6, 5x plus 6, okay? Now I have that minus, and then I have a negative x plus 6. Okay, now this is the thing. You need to turn this minus into plus, so it becomes essentially 5x plus a negative 6 plus. Now that negative out there becomes plus the opposite, but it's outside the parenthesis. And we've talked about that in my class. When it's outside the parenthesis, that means the opposite of, but that means everything inside is the opposite. So that negative x now becomes a positive x plus, and that 6 now becomes a negative 6. Okay? Now here, after you've done that, and because you have to show me that, I am not going to let you not show that. You are going to be required to rewrite this like this. Okay? You're essentially distributing a negative, or that's what you're doing. You're distributing a negative across the second binomial. So you have 5x plus negative 6 plus x plus negative 6. Now you can do two things. You can do the commuting, or the horizontal method, where you commute the order. So it's 5x plus x plus negative 6 plus negative 6. Okay? Ooh, I made a mistake here. This isn't negative. I'm like, what? Looking at this thinking something's not right. This shouldn't be a negative 6. That should be a positive 6. I messed up. Which means this one also isn't negative. Which means this one then isn't negative. If you look over here, I knew when I was doing it something didn't look right. This is a positive 6, not a negative 6. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we have to combine our like terms. So 5 plus x is 5x plus x is 6x, because there's a negative or invisible 1 in front of that x, plus, and then you have 6 plus a negative 6, that's 0. Well, the additive property of 0 tells you that any number plus 0 is that number, so your answer is 6x. Okay? Now, you could go from this step right here and go right to the vertical method, which would be then 5x, but you still have to show that step in red, 5x plus 6, and then we're adding it because we turn that minus into a plus, 5x plus 6 plus, and then x plus a negative 6. 6 plus negative 6 is 0. 5x plus x is 6x. That would be your answer. Okay? So you go from this step where you distribute that negative, turning the subtraction of the two binomials into an addition problem, and then go right to the vertical and get your answer, and that would be fine. Okay. You also might, I should probably talk about that too, you might have to distribute. So when you do that, then you're going to have to also take into account that step. So if you look, I would like you to look at number 6. Okay, we'll do number 6 together, and this should be written in your notebook. It's a negative 2 times c plus 2.5. Okay, and then it has minus 5 times 1.2 Ooh, that looks terrible. 1.2 plus 4. Okay, now you have to distribute that negative 2 and that negative 5. So a negative 2, so to do that, you got to think, okay, negative 2 times c, then negative 2 times 2.5. Okay, so if I do negative 2 times c, that is a negative 2, and I'm doing this in red now, negative 2c plus, okay, now I have to do the negative 2 times the 2.5. So 2 times 2.5 is 5, okay? But I have a negative times a positive. So it's going to be a negative 5. Okay, now the second part. You have to turn this minus into plus the opposite. So I'm going to do that and make this plus a negative 5. And then I'm going to distribute it. Okay? So if I do that, I have a negative 5. And again, you would go negative 5 over the 1.2 and the negative 5 over the 4. So negative 5 times 1.2 is 6. But it's a negative times a positive, so it's going to be a negative 6 plus, and then a negative 5 times 4 is a negative 20. Oh, and look, I also forgot something. Did anybody notice what I forgot? I forgot to put my C here. There should be a C here. There we go. So it's a negative 2.5, or negative 2C plus negative 5 plus negative 6C plus a negative 20. Okay, now you can do the vertical method or you can do the horizontal method. I'm going to show you the vertical method for right now. So it's negative 2c plus a negative 5 and negative 6c plus negative 20. Okay? Then you add negative 20 plus a negative 5 is a negative 25 plus negative 2 plus negative 6 is negative 8c. So that's our answer. Negative 8c plus a negative 25. That would be your answer. That's how you would do it with the distributing. And this is what I would want to see for work. I expect to see that. You're going to get a point for showing that you can distribute. You're going to get a point for showing that you know how to turn this negative, that subtraction problem, into plus the opposite. And then you're going to get a point for showing the combining of your like terms, and you're going to get a point for your answer. So if we count that up, you get 1 point for the distributive step, so that's 1. You get 1 point for the subtraction step, that's 2 points. 1 point for combining your like terms, that's 3 points. And 1 point for your answer, that's 4. So a problem like this is worth 4 points. You need to make sure you show every single step. Step 1, step 2, 3, 4. Okay, you need to have that all. Okay, so what I would like you to do when you come back to class tomorrow, I would like you to do for me number 9 and, oh, let's see. Wow, do I not have any subtraction problems? That seems crazy. We don't have any subtraction problems. Okay, let's just do number 9 and number... I'm trying to find one that has a distributive. Yeah, I guess we'll have to do 13. 9 and 13. Okay? Okay. Come back with those 2 problems complete tomorrow. Okay?